Welcome to Elite Paranormal Society. My bad. I apologize. You
I
got
was
it.
supposed to start.
You got it. It's all you. My
Hi
bad.
guys, welcome to the EPS ParaTalk. I am the co-host, Freddie Johnson.
You're live now, by the way.
Oh, I'm live now. Anyhow, so welcome guys. Again, like I said, why we just go live now?
You tell me.
Okay. Anyhow, so I'm the co-host, Freddie. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Robert Murphy. He is the founder. He is the host, but apparently he wants me to run more shows, so this is what we're doing today. You're welcome. Anyhow, Michelle.
Okay, our screen's froze up though.
I don't care.
I don't care.
Where you sit right now, so I don't know. We're so Colette. Hello. We're trying to figure out how to scroll.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit different setup. So we're trying something new.
If I say I love Facebook and every time they change something, I am absolutely lying to you. I hate when they keep changing. There you go.
Sandy, Craig Williams, I guess it's Craig.
Yep,
the
Craig's on.
Bonnie.
Now watch, it's not going to do. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. Jeremy's on. Awesome.
Hey, Jeremy.
Now it's not doing the auto scrolling.
Because I'm not down the whole way yet. So let me.
Okay. Well, you keep working on it there, brother.
First of all, can everybody see us okay? And the video fine and audio? Just give us.
We're running off of a brand new laptop, so we want to check it out. Plus, Facebook has updated. I apologize for the noise upstairs right now. I've got my granddaughter over and a little bit noisy above us. Susan, thanks for being on. But we're checking out this.
Bonnie shared, yeah.
We're checking out this new system Facebook has and just trying to, again, get used to it. So we want to see how the audio and whatnot goes. We are not able to see any type of thumbs or anything.
No, but it's been live for 2 minutes and 11. So
that's about accurate.
Right. So can somebody just comment if they can hear us and the audio is fine and video is fine? Because we don't get the likes or the anger faces.
David, thanks for jumping on. Video keeps freezing on his end. I'll be curious to see if how that keeps running.
Yeah. So anyhow, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you, Freddie. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
You lie like a dog.
Right. I know. I'm doing good. But no, I'm doing good. I worked last night. I have a major toothache going on. So if I start slurring, I promise you guys it's not a stroke right yet. So I don't know, dealing with Rob, sometimes you make them think that. But anyhow, so last week, let's talk quick about last week. We went to the Haunted Trails in Gettysburg.
Yep, absolutely. Had a great time at Haunted
Trails.
We did
live. We had a fantastic time there. Yes, very good. Talked with the owners, Amanda and Terry. And you bailed out on me and let me run the show, basically, that day. So
did excellent.
That was kind of different.
Everybody enjoyed that. I think everybody...
I don't think they did, but anyhow. You're good, but video freezes for a second, then it's fine. So that's from Sandy.
Okay, well, let's just keep watching and see how it goes. Guys, we appreciate you helping us kind of test this out.
This is the first thing for us with this new Facebook Live program software. So just bear with us. We always have problems. I look forward to coming here each weekend
just
and
to
have a glitch in the system.
It's neat because we were fortunate enough to go ahead. Actually, we're talking...
Hey, Mary.
Paranormal Warehouse. We're talking to Michael on Paranormal Warehouse, and he's used to a lot of the tech side of it, and we were running some of the issues by him, and it was kind of nice to watch his mind get blown with all the different types of issues we've had. It's always interesting.
Right. Hey, Melody. Sean.
Linda. Shay, what's up?
Linda, matter of fact, she's up at the Haunted Trails. She's up there last night. I think she's going to be up there again tonight, I believe. So, Haunted Trails says hello. We were just talking about you guys. Actually, speaking of Haunted Trails of Gettysburg, this guy, this guy will be at Haunted Trails of Gettysburg on Tuesday, and I may even go live.
You and who else?
Melody.
Give her a shout out.
The better half.
She's gonna be with you.
Make sure, yes.
So you might go live this Tuesday.
Yes.
Any target time for trying to go live?
Between 7 and 11. That's a nice target time, huh? It's like, when people come to give you an estimate, like 4-hour window screen. Yeah, it'd be hopefully around 9.
Okay, and you're going to be live on our page if
yes,
you do live?
If I can, sir. If I'm allowed to.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying so people know where to try to look for you.
Yeah, so we're going to try to go live on the Elite Paranormal Society page. So, yeah.
Is this the jewelry show? I love Philip.
I mean, it could be Philip. I mean,
Cheryl, thanks for being on.
It was a shoe show.
Wow, and I don't even have mine on.
I wonder what I started smelling over here.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
But anyhow,
I hear you.
I may go live, but I'll be up here Tuesday doing a little investigation since I've never been there doing investigation, and I know you're working. For some reason, we're there 5 o'clock in the morning. You're more welcome to come up, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So, if you're interested, you can watch me do the blooper reel on Tuesday night. So
you'll be fine.
It'd be like Freddy Freak Show. That's what it'd be like. I like it. We can do that. Hey,
you're gonna have a new segment, the Freddy Freak Show.
New segment. That's right. Anyhow,
I like it.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about attachments today.
Awesome. What are attachments?
What are attachments?
Yeah, I mean like attachments for your gun, accessories for your equipment. What kind of attachments are you talking about?
I think we're going to discuss the paranormal kind, where if you feel attached, somebody attached to you, attachment.
Okay.
Believe so. That's what I'm looking at trying to do today.
All right. Well, let's hear it. I'm interested in this one too. This is
anyhow.
Great.
Anything else we need to catch up on?
We'll pass on Philip's conversation.
Okay. All right. Sandy wants a cooking show. So, all right, great. Well, maybe we could do that.
Not at my house, it ain't happening. Not a cooking show.
I mean, I can do a microwave.
I'm good at microwaves. That's
certain times for certain
microwaves and pizza. I'm pretty solid on.
Or toaster oven. But anyway, okay. All right.
Attachments. Let's talk about attachments.
Okay, good.
It's obviously it's a topic. It's not. You either believe in it or you don't believe in it. There's not too much falling on in the middle about it. A lot of people are, there's those that just don't believe in that whole. It's hard enough for them to believe in the paranormal, much less that something's going to be that negative out there. But a lot of us that have been around do know that attachments can happen.
Right.
And again, as you say, attachment is typically a negative energy that is attached to an individual after they go to a location, a place, wherever. And there's usually one of a couple of reasons why an attachment will happen to one person rather than somebody else. Do you know what those are offhand? You want to run them down? You want me to run them down?
We can run them down.
So what's one?
Where do you want to start?
All right. The situations that a person can be in mind-wise, where can a person be at? It wouldn't be so solid to have a good defense against attachments. Depression.
Anxiety, yep.
Depression and stress.
Or being sick.
There you go.
Not feeling well.
Drug addiction and alcohol. Those are basically your 4 real openings that will prevent somebody from being as guarded as they typically are. Right. Even though it's more subconscious guarding, if that makes sense. You kind of open yourself up and become more vulnerable at that point to an attachment. And of course, if you invite something in, there's a whole different ball game. When you're inviting something, saying, "Hey, you can use my body, you can do this." You see people do this from time to time. They have no clue what they're actually doing, for the most part, because you genuinely do not understand what you could be actually inviting to deal with.
Right.
And it does happen.
And we've been on a couple cases where the client's been in a mindset of being depressed and being.
Absolutely.
And touch on that just a little bit too. When you go into investigation stuff, I'm always the person that kind of like observes what's going on. We do like a walkthrough type thing. So, you look for like medications, you look for anything else that can be, cause an issue for the person themselves. So,
absolutely. So when you're even starting, even part of your debunking process.
Right.
When you actually visit the location, you're actually looking around physically for some type of things that might, materials that might say, okay, hold on, this might be, because you have to be open-minded about it. So kudos to you on that one. I think that's a valid point that needs to be pushed out there more often. Right. People that are complaining that, oh my gosh, my son or daughter, they're only 3 years old and they're talking about demons, and yet you look over on their rack and they've got all these videos of, Damien, the Omen, and all kinds of exorcists and stuff.
Hey, Janet.
that kind of tells you, gives you an indication, especially while they're watching it when you first walk in. Kind of didn't get the proper information from the client at that point. So attachment-wise, like you say, attachment, the problem with attachments in our field that we understand is mental illness and attachments damn near look the same, quite honestly.
Can I ask something real quick?
Go ahead.
Have you ever had an attachment?
Twice. Twice. I did not know I had an attachment at the time.
How did you find out?
People around me.
Right.
The difference when somebody says, I've had an attachment all my life, or I have an attachment this week, so it's if they think that they have an attachment themselves before somebody around them, they're either a very solitary person or they're probably not aware that they really don't have an attachment.
And you have to watch too, because body language, it changes.
Yes.
You know, you were more like snippy and, you know what I mean, like just kind of like
cold, flat,
right.
negative, snippy,
right.
Just
bland. Your mood changes. Yes.
It changes for the negative. It really does, and it's the person that has the attachment doesn't realize it. But go back to the point that I was just saying. People that look at it first, they're going to say, okay, well, that's schizophrenia, that's this, that's, you know, it's some type of mental illness. The difference between what we're talking about between an attachment and mental illness, they both affect the mind, no question about it. And even the field, you know, is really divided up on whether or not the paranormal is real, psychology, whether or not the paranormal is real, and or if it's just all really a phase of the mental illness and can it be treated. The difference to me is mental illness, you can't just give a pill one time. You can't just do a ritual one time around somebody and that mental illness just snaps off. Typically, that wouldn't really be considered the mental illness that, you know, when you have schizophrenia, that's like long term. Whereas what I'm talking about is we've treated several people one time, you know, in, say, a half an hour, and that person never has had an issue ever since. Was it a placebo effect and it was just enough to fix it? I can't tell you that part. I can just tell you it's made a difference.
Right. Like Colette said, you know, Colette's different opinion, you know.
Yeah.
As you know, I don't believe in attachments, but that's just me. I've been ill, not seriously ill, but nothing has ever attached to me at all. But that's just my opinion, but great topic. So.
And as you're pointing out.
And we like, yeah.
We like the varied opinions and people that are willing to voice their opinion. Perfectly fine. A friend of ours was over last night, and he was talking about he's a skeptic. He doesn't believe in anything. I'm like, keep it that way. Until you see for yourself, keep it that way.
Right. Sandy, I had people coming to me lately with sleep paralysis problems. Is that an attachment issue or what is?
Sleep paralysis is not typically an attachment issue. They're more vulnerable while they are sleeping, and things can go ahead. Go ahead with that.
Well, I have a coworker.
Yep.
That's having a lot of issues at her home. We gave her some sage and stuff like that, but she wants us to come investigate or
what happened. All right, she was having issues sleeping with the same thing. Right?
She was having
sleep paralysis,
nightmares, and she had. And I know I talked to her before, and I can discuss a little bit of this, but she was having sleep paralysis. She felt like she couldn't move. She felt like she was being held down, which is the general, you know, for sleep paralysis.
Right.
She told me that she had 4 dreams in one night. 4 dreams. She said, well, nightmares, you want to call it. She said she went to sleep, woke up with a guy standing at the side of the bed. She said she woke up because she remembers like getting very, you know, you need to leave, get out, you know, get out, get out. Well, then whatever was there kind of like glided towards her to the bed and kind of like reached up over her. But that was it. She went back to sleep. It was gone. She woke up again, had the same nightmare 3 times. And then her 4th one was totally something different. She was in a house. Her husband came home, and she's like, hey, you know, I'm upstairs. And she said there was a big old snake in the hallway. She goes, didn't have anything to do with what was going on, but she had 4, what she called nightmare. And I asked her, I said, are you sure that you woke up from that 3? You know what I mean? Because you can dream or have a nightmare of you waking up.
Believing that you are
and right. Not really, you know what I mean? So it's like, how can you tell? She goes, I know. She goes, I can tell. I was up, made sure that the baby was okay and stuff. She goes, but again, you know, was she really awake?
Right, and so that's a fine line we look at.
Right.
It's hard. It's not that we're trying to doubt somebody, but it is. We are looking at the mindset. If somebody's right on the verge, and it happens a lot of times, somebody says, "I was just about to sleep," and that's when something happens. Well, that's also when your mind is flatter, you don't have all the different interaction going in. You don't have the lights, you don't have the sound, you don't have cameras, you don't have all this coming into you. You're a lot calmer, and it's a lot easier for energy on the other side to connect at that point.
Right, like Shay said earlier. I think it was Shay about objects can have attachments.
Yes,
as well. Building ground, and Jeremy comment, building grounds, anything can have an attachment.
Absolutely, definitely believe in that. No question about it. To your point, we in that situation, she was having some issues. Sent her over some sage. What happened? What was the following response in the next couple of days? What happened?
Things got quiet.
Okay.
Things really quiet down. She didn't notice any issues.
Burn sage in the room. Leave sage unburnt next to the headboard or nightstand.
But then things started picking up. She started trying to debunk some stuff. She had a door that they knew locked, but when they came out the bedroom at night, the door was open, but it was still locked. So they don't understand. But they realized that from the outside, the door can just pop open from wind or whatever.
Good debunking.
But the end within. But she said that once in a while she'll have this figure standing at the corner of a room, always in basically the same corner.
But backing down, what we need to know though is the original we went in for, as far as we did, we gave her the sage, burned the sage, and then turn around and kept it next to the bed so that she could sleep. Is she still having A, the nightmares, B, any type of sleep paralysis?
She had one time. She moved the sage downstairs to the basement. So
did she?
It's not in the bedroom.
I would be curious that once she moved the sage, is that when the visitors started coming back in?
Yes.
Which typically happens. That happens a lot with sleep paralysis, where I will certainly go ahead and send people sage and whatnot and explain to them what to do. And it's amazing that there will be an instant change in what happens to them when they do not go through the sleep paralysis and whatnot. As far as we know, there's two different things about sleep paralysis. The medical side says, okay, your body is putting off a chemical so that you don't overreact when you're sleeping, because if you do, you can hurt yourself, because some people have very violent dreams.
The sleep deprived can cause sleep paralysis. You're so tired.
Deprivation, right.
She just had a newborn, so she's exhausted. She's a mother, so she's very tired. She's up all night. Don't get much sleep. So, yes. Could she have the symptoms? Yes, absolutely, because she's
and we look at that. We're looking at that when we're trying to look through this part. But again, we're going to focus. Let's go back to focusing a little bit more on attachments. And when I'm talking about attachments, yes, can figures have attachments? Items have attachment? Yes, we're talking about people right now. What do you got?
Shout out to Amber and Tim.
Thanks for being on. Gina, thanks for being on. Definitely glad to have you jump in here, Tim. We're talking about attachments. We're talking about with people who actually, they've gone to a location, they might have been depressed, they might have been under extreme stress, alcoholism, drug addiction, which is the main, or a person who invites things to come and use them or do whatever. You're an open invite. But somebody who walks away from that, and the effects could be very slow and subtle, or they can be pretty quick with the change of personality to the individual. But the individual who has the attachment is not typically aware as people around them are. Sorry about that, that's my granddaughter upstairs. People around them will typically be the first ones to start picking up on the attachment. Philip's on here right now, and he had picked up on one attachment that I had, and here's the difference. I'm in Maryland, he's in Georgia. He did not see me physically at all, and yet he's gifted enough that he was able to reach out to me and say, hey, look, I think you have something going on, and he explained in details, and ironically, my wife explained in details, then he tells me about the details. Pam from Gettysburg Ghost Exchange hits me up out of the blue, asks me when I'm coming in for a Reiki session.
Right.
And then when we did the live, everybody else started piling on with the same thing. Everybody was seeing the same person that was attached, that same figure that was attached in one of the situations. So I had no idea, and yet I was being snappy. I was being short with my team members. I had no idea I was. To me, I was being normal, and people are going, are you tired? Are you tired? I'm like, I'm not tired. I'm perfectly fine.
Right.
To me, I'm thinking I'm fine, and it gets offensive
but
when you keep saying it.
But you see that, yes, and how do you address somebody? like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Gilson at the time was going through a really rough time with his work and everything. I was like, "You've got a job though, right? What are you worried about?" You know,
Right.
he said it was in a real flat manner like that, which is not my typical. Normally, you know, I'm like, just hang in there. You know, things will get better, and hopefully upstairs it gets better. So, again, if you haven't experienced an attachment, it's one thing. But if you have experienced an attachment, it can be a world of difference. The number one thing that anybody that has an attachment or believe they have an attachment needs to know, you can get rid of attachments. You can get rid of attachments. Life can get back to normal. A lot of people are so embarrassed about having something going on with them, they don't want to admit to it in the first place. Attachment goes down a certain road. It's pretty consistent the way it goes. The personality of the individual goes first. It becomes very negative, very flat, and that continues on. The person will start to distance themselves from other people because they're getting aggravated every time somebody's going, you know, you're all right, whatever, and they think in their mind they're perfectly fine. Eventually, their sleep is going to get interrupted, and they're going to start having some thoughts that not everybody can separate and understand. It's not really their thoughts. Attachments can be real manipulative things. They can get into your head. Your head is basically an open filing cabinet. They can use your thoughts, like something you've done years ago that you're not proud of. They can bring back like it just happened today. They can pick it apart, use it against you. They can say things. They'll break down a person, try to make them feel like, you know, they just need to go ahead and literally jump in the water somewhere and just drown themselves. I mean, it's really some sick stuff that they can come up with. And or they can get them to try to do things to other people, you know, eventually once they break their mind down. But they become sleep deprived. Eventually that person is going to start hearing voices. And it's not always just one voice, and it's horrible because think about it. You guys are doing something. Let's just say you're on an investigation and you're trying to do something, and then yet you've got this voice talking to you the whole time, and you keep thinking it's a real voice, and you keep turning. After a while, it's going to interrupt what you're doing. Or you're trying to have a serious conversation on the phone, and yet this thing's sitting here talking, but it's not talking like we're thinking, and people around you can hear it. Nobody else can hear you. I had one young man that was going through it, and his daughter looked up at him at one point and said, "Daddy, is that mean guy going to go away?" And that's when he finally had a clue that somebody else could actually see it. His daughter just happened to have abilities and was able to see this nasty. To him, he went through paranoia where he honestly thought it was family members playing tricks on him. No matter where he was at, they were saying stuff that you know, he's like, "How are y'all watching me everywhere I go?" I mean, he was really getting to a point where, because it really seemed like somebody had to be doing this trick. I mean, how can something really be around you messing in your mind? I mean, that's not the normal thought that most of us have until you actually go through it or see somebody goes through it. But when his daughter finally sat there and told him about the mean man that was right next to him that was saying this stuff, that finally gave him a peace of mind that, oh my gosh, I have not completely lost my mind. She sees it too. My daughter didn't lose her mind. I know she's sane. You know what I mean? And it was that little saving factor that was a big deal. So.
Sandy says I'm getting snappy from boredom and what's going on out there. I've been unfortunate. I've never had an attachment though. So
there's a lot of people, and there's a difference between an attachment and people that feel like they're haunted. Some people will feel like they're haunted, and that's the ones that are usually gifted. They have some type of abilities, and they always have the energies drawn to them because, you know, again, they can sense it or feel it or see it, and they put out a particular energy that those on the other side know, hey, I'm not going to waste my time knocking at this door. I'm going to go to this person, and you know, those people sometimes will hit up and go, I've been haunted all my life. I've got attachments. And they really don't have attachment. They have gifts. That's different.
quick shout out to Susan and Shannon.
Awesome.
Gina has, yep, after sleep deprivation, it gets rough. Do you think it's just because you're exhausted?
There's two. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen sleep deprivation in some of my family members who have gone through, and like one, I mean, eventually he ended up passing, but he was very sincere. I mean, it was my wife's grandfather, and he's like, Rob, I gotta tell you, I can't tell you what's not real and what's real. And like at one point, he has a little 10-gallon fish tank, and he says, oh my gosh, he's got these tiny little tetras in there, these tiny teeny little fish. And he says, oh my gosh, thank goodness for them fish. They were eating them snake up so fast. Them big old green and black snake were coming down my wall, and them little fish were just eating them up. You know, a tiny little tetra this big is not eating no big old snakes. But in his mind, it was just as real as could be. It wasn't that he had demons or it was sleep deprivation. He would go days without sleeping, and his mind would definitely creep on him.
Tim have you ever heard any more from the guy that was getting physically beaten?
No, that whole situation really took a strange change. In that gentleman that he's bringing up, there was a gentleman who was definitely getting beaten, and if every time he talked to me, it would he would have to get away from everybody because it would get really rough. And prior to him talking to me, he was being told to do some very bad things, especially to himself and whatnot. Physically, for multiple days in a row, he he wasn't beating himself, but he would get to a point where he'd be bruised and he'd be passed out from getting beaten. This is a guy who used to fight boxing or MMA or whatever, and mentally he just walked away from his fiance and everything. He done. I'm done. Gone. And no conversation since then.
Jeremy has what a lot of people don't understand is that attachments are not the same as possessions.
That's a great point. That's a great point. They can both manipulate your mind, no question about it. A possession, the person will actually lose chunks of time because they're no longer in the driver's seat at all physically. I mean, inside, behind the eyes, there's something else that's actually there running it in the sense of a possession, whereas and again, they'll have blackout spells where they don't remember what happened for the last 15 minutes or an hour, and that's because they were not, quote, at the wheel. That's completely different than an attachment. The attachment, unfortunately, the individual is, and I say unfortunate because it really can make you lose your mind. When you're going and you're going and you're going and you still have these voices, and it could be one voice, it could be multiple voices, and they just want to pick and pick and pick and pick at you, and they'll say, oh, if you've ever used drugs before, they'll con you into trying to go ahead and try it one more time just to go ahead and make things feel better and everything. They like to manipulate the human body. They really do. Attachments that we're talking about are not demons, that are doing possessions. They're not entities. These are all different types of negativity. Everybody wants to say if it's bad, it's a demon. No, there's things worse than demons, regardless what you want to believe. Entities, demons. If you get into some Native American area and you get caught up in the wrong side as far as where for some reason they've become very upset as far as Native American based spirits, and I'm not saying it's the Native Americans themselves, but they're very tied in with Mother Earth, that's the worst ones to deal with. I mean, you don't play with that because they can really take out a lot of people really quick. Again, they can mess with your mind as well. It's a very mental, and the hardest part is who do you turn to get help? And so many of us are stuck in the normal of what we do. This is a phone, it's a rectangle, whatever, and we think of everything with boundaries. And when you start dealing with the other side, you're not only doing the physical side of it, you're doing a mental side of it as well. And that's where the difference is. Every religion talks about faith. That's because how do you show faith? A cross? Is that supposed to show faith? Or is faith really here or here, however you want to put it? That's because it takes over to the other side. I mean, it's get into crazy talk as far as other dimensions, however you want to put it. It crosses, it spans everything. When you're talking energy, you're not talking about a physical object. You're talking about the energy of anything that's around you, and your mind is energy, and that makes a big difference. So it's like when we're at a location and I need to push something back. I have the holy water. Yes, that's physical, but I'm also pushing mentally. I'm going to move with light. I'm picturing this light and moving anything back away from it, and you can do it. For those that are going through attachments, or even if you go into a haunted location that really has true evil, demonic, guarantee at some point, if you're effective at all, the first thing the indicator is it's going to start laughing. Why is it going to waste its time laughing at you if you are not making any effects on it whatsoever? But it's the laugh is just to go to throw you off the track. It's to make you think like you're wasting your time, when in fact you're not. You're on the right page. You sit there and you recite the Lord's Prayer, and all of a sudden, somebody that can with abilities is going, oh, it's just laughing. Well, no, that's your first strike. You're hitting. You just landed something. You just need to understand how it's really working, and there's a difference. Any questions? Who do we have on right now from?
Brian.
Bearded Paranormal?
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for being on, Brian. Appreciate that very much.
Of course, like I said, Susan and Shannon are on from OCPR.
That is awesome. Love it. Love having you guys with us. Your input is perfectly fine. Your opinions, perfectly fine. If you think what I'm talking about is completely off track, you're more than welcome to put it up there. It doesn't faze me. I have to live with who I help. And if I'm helping somebody and it's worked, it's been effective, maybe it's all placebo. I don't care. Placebo being the sugar pill that has no supposed beneficial effects, but yet, when they do drug tests, they'll also do a placebo test. If somebody is getting better with a sugar pill, then how effective is the drug? It's kind of a comparison that's made. So when you hear me talk about the placebo effect, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's just all mental, and I don't care what it is, as long as it gets that person back to being normal. Does that make sense?
Shout out to
Bill.
Sherry and Bill.
Way to wake up. So, again, going a little bit farther with people with attachments, we have different ways of, different people will approach the situation in a different way. And the more I looked at it just recently, I just put a post out today, it was the second post about attachments. And the interesting part with that is, for those that are Christian, most of my work is Christian based. So those that are Catholic, Christian, whatever, and you look off, you kind of look at Wiccan or witches or pagan or any other voodoo, hoodoo. You're looking at them like y'all are into some weird casting, some weird spells and everything. As I'm typing up as far as what I go through, my quote ritual, however you want to put it, ceremony, whatever sounds better to the Christians, I guess. When you listen to it though and you think about it, I'm using holy water, I'm using salt, I'm using a crucifix, I've got the Bible, I've got white sage, I'm doing prayers. When you start listening to what I'm talking about, how is that really different from anybody that is using Mother Earth as far as using the elements of Earth, herbs and whatnot, and using those? How is that not really generally the same thing? So, before people start casting judgment about because this person says they're a witch or they're pagan or whatever, slow down. Don't, it's not for us to judge. That's why I say I don't judge. I don't care. It's whatever helps that individual. No questions? Kind of quiet. It's been real quiet. Again, if you have questions or you have your opinions, please feel free to go ahead and throw them out. Real quick scenario, how I deal with it. One of the misses that happen, I also deal with a ring. I prefer a copper ring itself. Quick scenario, how I run through it, though, just to give you an idea. I have a location. If it's around here, it's a few miles away. I've got a particular gazebo I go to. It's got 4 posts. I like the posts. If you're into, some religions will consider it like the watchtowers, the east, the north, west, and south. I'm doing the same thing. I use the post. I go ahead and place the sign of the cross on the post. I claim it as God's territory. I'm doing this a lot faster. The individual is in there. I do incorporate the spirit box and a recorder because I will actually ask some questions and I'll say a few things first, and it's kind of neat when you get certain responses, whether it's the individual's name, as long as the individual's okay with me recording it. I don't play those for you guys. Nobody hears those. Those are mine. But I like to kind of see what I capture, and I don't play it the whole time. I just start it off that way after I start talking. And I will use white sage as far as saging the person. I'll start with the Lord's Prayer. I've got a couple other prayers that I do. I will do, you guys have heard about the salt. We talk about the non-iodized salt. I prefer the sea salt. I do it in fine. I will use a flat surface, and I will do a salt ring all the way around that is unbroken. It's not like there's going to be a spot where it's all missing or anything. I do it around the individual. The individual stands inside that ring. And I'm going a little bit fast through this, but I just want to kind of give you guys a little idea. There's nothing crazy major to what's going on here. And this is the difference of somebody who commits suicide, somebody who doesn't commit suicide, somebody who gets their life on track and ends up with their entire family back around them, as opposed to somebody who's been singular or, off to themselves for the last 6 or 8 months or 2 years. It's happened. We've seen it happen over and over. You've seen it happen as well. But I'll put the salt down. I'll continue with the sage. I'll do the blessing as far as on the forehead with the holy water, sprinkle with the holy water and surround them in God's white light. Again, it's prayers. The last thing I do is I actually have them pass a hoop, a particular metal hoop over them. Again, I prefer a copper hoop itself, but I'll have them pass it over themselves 3 times where they're actually going to go, whether it doesn't matter which way they go, because they need to cut an energy cord off. This is really, unless you're into Reiki and you understand, attachment can build an energy cord to you, and once that energy cord is stuck to you, you kind of watch like on the Matrix, you see them unplug. Same thing you want to do. That energy cord is attached to you. Even though I can bind something to a location and then drive away, doesn't mean that thing can't pop right back at my house. It's done it before. So regardless if you're miles away, if it knows where you're going to be at, it can pop right back to your home. So you want to cut that energy cord, and that's what a lot of people miss, is cutting an energy cord off from what's affecting you. That's it in a nutshell. After we're done with all that, I'd have them step outside of the salt ring without touching the salt ring. That leaves whatever's there. I'm binding whatever's there temporarily. Then when I go to the cars, I even blow sage inside the cars and make sure they understand they, being anything malicious, malevolent, evil, whatever, is not allowed, does not have permission to travel on with our property or in our vehicles or on our persons. So at the same time, it's like closing out a investigation. I just want to stop it at that point and say, we're done. You can't travel with us. And very effective.
Shout out to Keith from the UK. Sorry if I'm a little quiet. But...
Oh, no, you were taking over this one. You were in control. I know. You got the toothache kicking you.
Yeah. So.
I didn't want to talk over top of you. I'm trying to make sure,
No, that's why.
It's really cool to have a co-host that, when you know how each other operates, you guys will watch. If you see me with Janie, we do it very similar, where we kind of have an idea how each other works out, and it really goes very, very nice. I like that. But unfortunately today, Freddie is dealing with a major toothache.
Yeah, it sucks.
And if we don't do something about it, he will not make the next show, I'm sure. So we'll have to get something, maybe go crush some garlic. Is she bringing you some, Melody? Bringing you something?
Some Amasol.
If not, then absolutely garlic. If you take garlic, quick note, toothache, you have garlic, crush the garlic cloves, crush it so that you go ahead and get that moisture out of it, get that onto a paper towel or napkin or something that's very thin, and put it actually on the tooth wherever it's hurting at, and it's amazing. That actually really, really does work. I looked it up online one time. I didn't believe it, but I was hurting so much I'd try anything, and it worked. Sorry to hear that, brother. Chew cloves. There you go. Thank you, Sandy. It was this topic in particular with attachments is, one, it is personal to me, and two, it's like people with abilities that truly have abilities, and they don't have to have a full range of abilities and be oh my gosh, they're an incredible medium or psychic. Any abilities can be rough to go through. Empaths, every one of you guys that are going through that are empathic, you just feel emotions. You can have this crazy emotions come over you. Back in high school and college, that's just her having her time of the month and everything. That's so BS. Unfortunately, we know there's a lot more into it, and you guys and everybody are having these. And if the more aware and in tune you are to have a clue that how that can affect somebody, it can really change your life. You can have a lot better life with somebody. I mean, it could even be if your other half happens to be empathic, then you realize they're going to get more emotional or more upset at you over the smallest issues. And it's not on purpose. They don't even realize they're doing it.
Susan said, I think I need a different kind of help than you provide.
Sorry. It depends on the situation. I ain't saying that's the only thing we help on. We help with several.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you need other help? I do have pliers. I am willing to use pliers. Anything for you, bro.
And I have no problem you doing that. You want to do it right here on live? We do it on live.
I would do it live.
You just rip it right out, buddy.
I don't care at all. Trust me. Sherry was talking about being very exactly, and again, it's a learning. Without there being avenues of people trying to help and people trying to give you information of how to help. If you're empathic, Sherry, I'm going to use you for just a moment. If you're empathic, and some people will get really hung up on being empathic, and when I say hung up, it's not that they're doing it on purpose. they stay in that stage for a while, and it might be all their lives that they stay very empathic. That's kind of really where they're. Whereas when you get psychics and mediums, they've gotten over the hard hurdle. They still feel it, but now they can deal with it a lot different. They can push it away. They understand how to do that. Not everybody can learn it. But if you have a best friend, a significant other, somebody who's around you that understands that you're empathic, they can help you overcome it so much faster. If you're on a team and you're aware and you understand what to do, I've had not the holy water in particular, but I've had water bottles, and I've in a heartbeat thrown water on people. My clap is usually very loud in a small room in the dark. I mean, it'll shock you pretty good. But those sudden shocks will cut that away so that you can go back to functioning. Within 30 seconds, the person's back to being completely normal, not crying anymore, not having any crazy issues, not losing their, feeling like they're going to pieces in a matter of 30 seconds. And if you're a person who has gone through being an empath and you know how long that can ride out, that 30 seconds makes a hell of a difference. Rather than, it might be only a matter of seconds. But for somebody to be able to bring you back down to earth in a heartbeat, that can make a world of difference. True or false? So, you guys tell me. You can do the more you believe in what you're doing, the better it is for you. I do my own. When I had the 2 attachments, I removed them myself. And be very clear about this. I've read no books on this. I've not been talked to by people about how to do something. The most I had was from Sean McGaha, who said that I had something bound to me and was teaching me how to bind it. That's been like the only person in particular that I've gotten straight hand on. He was telling me while we were live one time what to do. That's the one person I will say, hey, that little bit I did get. But outside of that, the information and why I do what I do, don't ask me where it came from. All I can tell you is there's a higher power that I sincerely believe in. I definitely believe in God, and I believe He gave me the information. It's pretty simple. Make that whatever you want. Doesn't matter to me. Again, it's a matter of helping people. And if I can help somebody not walk that thin line, because people think you're hearing this voice in your head all the time. What do you think, seriously, if you get pushed far enough, what do you think your actions possibly, or at least you're going to consider doing to get rid of that voice? And most of you know it means you're going to try to do something bad to yourself. And now you're on that side. It didn't get you away from them. Now it just puts you on that side. You're still trapped. You're still there. So we don't want you to be in that situation. So I don't want somebody to be in that situation. Off topic, did you ever send that email regarding the EPS? Yes. That's the second person who said they did not get my response. I will send it again to you. I apologize. That's the second time, though. Do you need somebody's talking about extra strength Tylenol every 2 hours, ibuprofen? Brother, you want to go upstairs? You all right?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just trying to push on a little bit so the pain.
Do you still have that? Okay. Sorry, man. I feel for you, man. I hate a toothache more than anything.
It's throbbing, yeah.
Sherry, I'll send it back to you. I apologize. You're the second person I've sent something to that they said that they did not receive. So my sincere apologies for that. I will send it back out to you. As far as for attachments, and it's talking about, Bill was just asking whether or not you can actually go ahead and cut the cord yourself. You can cut the cords. Again, I've done 2 attachments, removed them from myself. Don't do them in your house. Don't do them if you don't have to do them in your yard itself. That's great. Don't do them in your yard. You're absolutely going to want some salt. I've done it without a ring before. I typically like to have the ring. I have cut cords without a ring. And again, it's up here. You're going through the motions when you're doing it. If you're doing the white sage, you're still going to go through the motions and make it. Anything that's going to be symbolic of cutting the cord, cutting anything that's around you is extremely important, and that's what you really need to do. You can make it happen. That's great, Sherry. If you would, I sincerely apologize again for you not receiving it. That one I don't know.
The Spooky Sisters joined.
Spooky Sisters, thanks for being on. It's always, if you're late, it's all good. Better late than not at all. Love having you guys. So have you guys ever dealt with anybody who's had an attachment, whether it be on your team or somebody you know? I'm just curious. Sent the question earlier. Did you see a question from Susan? said she sent one earlier offhand.
I
If
don't
you
remember seeing it. Sorry, Susan.
just see if you can skate up. If you can, great. If not, we're just trying to. I think I need a different kind of help. What kind than you provide? Tell us what kind of help you need. If you can, if it's PG rated, heck, we'll go to R, but no more than that. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen. Normally, it's funny because now with the new way it's coming up, the comments are on the left side, which I have a monitor set right next to the camera. I usually put the camera right next to the side of the screen, so when I'm looking at scrolling on the right side, the camera's right next to it. Now I got to remember next time put the camera the opposite side.
I don't see it.
If you get a chance, garlic will keep. All right, stop. Go back up. No, it's just it wasn't what I thought it was just now. Never mind. Susan, I'll go back through and actually look at all the comments, and if I see your comment, I'll be glad to respond to it. If you want to type it again, if it's not too much, or if you could just go up and copy and paste, throw it up there again, I'll be glad to go ahead and give you my best input if I can. Bill says the video and sounds are great right now. That's cool because we're running on my new computer, so we're hoping to see how that does. A few people had an issue. Chris T, what's up?
Hey, Chris.
Full of people with abilities. They pop up frequently sometimes. It can be pretty nasty. We understand better now how to handle it. Outstanding. Chris T, I also still want to go ahead and do that investigation with the kids, and including yours. If you're still up for it, I do want to get together sometime, and we'll end up doing that one probably at KOA.
Mm-hmm.
I think would be fun. It'd be neat to have like 3 kids there, just doing an investigation, and we'll live stream it, have some fun with it. Listen to them and kind of, give them a little bit of something to go with, guidance. You're right with that. Man, I feel so bad for you, brother. I really do. Gina, you're too sweet. Thank you so much. Again, this is just stuff that it comes to us. It's what we learn. We try to give back. It's pretty simple. Mine is, if you have the ability to help somebody, then help somebody. I will send you a message, Chris. I'm going to start trying to line things up now that things seem to be breaking a little bit, and fortunately things are opening back up.
Sin City.
Now that's the real hard part. It's easy to think that something is not real because it's in your mind, and I get the statement about that. It's no different than saying, just because you can't see something, okay, somebody who has abilities, and they say, hey, look, I saw this, or can't you hear? Janie's a perfect example. We're at a stream. She swears a little girl had drowned. She's screaming at me, are you serious? You cannot hear that little girl screaming? She is drowning, Rob. She's drowning. You can't hear her screaming? To Janie, it's very real. She thinks she's hearing here. She's actually hearing in her mind. You have to open up. You have to be more... You have to understand we don't just get information that we hear through here. There is information we're given here. Your gut instinct that you had that told you don't do that or you're going to get hurt, and you did it anyway and you got hurt, you didn't hear that in your ears. You knew that, but you didn't hear it. Does that make sense? It's the same thing. There are things on the other side, again, that are energy. It's like somebody saying you can't possibly get scratched. If they don't have a body, how do they scratch you? Does that mean it's all in your mind? The scratches just came up in your mind? I personally don't believe it. Somebody who gets pushed down the stairs and knows they got pushed in a real weird, not like where you can trip. I'm real big on, if we have something we catch on video as far as where somebody tumbles or falls or moves in a weird position, I want to take the time to see how unnatural was it. When somebody's leg buckles beneath them, how unnatural was it? And that's what you're looking at. That doesn't mean something mentally just went ahead and did that.
Susan put up, if you feel you've had a possession at a location, if you return to said location again, will you be a target for a possession again?
If you're in the same frame of mind, as far as if you're low in what you're doing, if your defenses are down, you can absolutely be another target again. People that have had attachments that I've dealt with, and they go back to their normal life and don't, and understand where they need to be cautious about. I've not had anybody that has gone back and had another issue again, even if they've gone back to their home and whatnot. Possession, there's usually something very dark in that location. So unless it's been removed from the location, can it happen? I would say yes. Do I think it's going to happen? That's if there's something that's going for a possession. You're talking about demon's going for possession. It's after that person for a reason, and a demon has all the time in the world. It does not care. So for you, just because you left the house for a year and now you come back and yet it's still in there, yeah, it could definitely come after you. There have been people that have had repetitive exorcisms performed on them because it didn't go away, or somebody could say, well, maybe it just left them and jumped right back in. However you want to put it, I think you're still vulnerable, and I would not. I would strongly suggest you not go back to the same location if you were under possession at that location. Um, and I'm not talking about a simple jump where your mind is kind of taken over. I'm talking about actual possession. If you understand, there is a definite difference. We've had multiple people on our team. We've had guests that have been with us that have mentally been jumped where they're no longer in control for the next 30 seconds to a few minutes, and they want to do damage to somebody, unfortunately. And that has happened. That's not. I would call it more jump. That's not really true possession. They are at that point under the influence of whatever's guiding them, but it doesn't last. And the same with the Sandy was asking. The same with the. I'm sorry. When
do
mediums realize that
yeah.
they're mediums and not schizophrenic? That is really, really hard. Do you know how many people are actually in the nut ward that really are just truly gifted people? Because it's a fine line, and that's why we're trying to put more of it out there, especially for the younger people coming up, to understand it's okay to be different. 20 years ago, if you said you heard voices, they locked you up. I mean, there's no question. They locked you up. You were there. You're taking the pills. You're going to be medicated from there on, and hopefully you can find your way out of it. Most of your real mediums, psychics, whatever, that have been gifted for a long time, they've gone through phases where they thought they were absolutely going crazy. Your confirmations is what does it for you. That's what really should be your tried and true, is your confirmations. If you keep a diary or a journal, that is I can't point out enough. I am not gifted in that sense. I'm the first one to tell you. So I know some people are looking at me going, how can you talk about something if you're not gifted? Doesn't mean you can't learn it. Doesn't mean you can't understand it. I work around some extremely gifted people. Taking the time as an outside observer and learning, watch, learn, continue to learn. That's the difference. The one holy grail is to go ahead and write stuff down. Then you can have an idea. You might not have a confirmation for a couple weeks. All of a sudden it comes through. Unfortunately, you thought XYZ was going to pass. 3 days later, XYZ passes. Just to say that to somebody is one thing. That's kind of like a passing, that conversation goes away. When you've already had it documented, and that's why Janie will send me stuff, and a few other people will actually send me a text message. It's got the date, it's got the time. Then when something happens afterwards, it's time stamped. It's right there. Look, I told you 2 days ago. I told you a month ago that was going to happen. And to the detail, it happens. For that individual, that's confirmation. You're not losing your mind. You knew something. And the more times you do that, the more sooner you realize, hold it, you're getting there. If you take everybody, throw them to the left, this is just my way of doing it. And some people on here are going to absolutely disagree. I don't care about all the titles. Here's the simple groups. Take everybody to the left. Everybody to the left at one point or another will experience something paranormal, something that's ability, something that's gifted, however you want to put it. They're going to experience it. Most of them are going to blow it off. They knew something and they couldn't have possibly have known it. They shouldn't have known it. The first stage you're going to have is going to be empathic. Empathic stage is where you can feel feelings, emotions of somebody else. And that other person doesn't have to be the living, as we know the living. We think of everybody passing of being dead, that they have no more heartbeat, they can't interact, whatever. We can't be more wrong if you tried, in all sincerity. And as those in the paranormal field realize that. Empathic, you can have that. Then you have sensitives. And just think of it as a slide rule. An empathic can turn to a sensitive. Doesn't mean they're still not empathic. They're still empathic, but now they're sensitive. Sensitive means you're picking up bits and pieces of information about things you shouldn't know. You might know what a house looks like, and you've never been to a house, and it's several states away. You might know what a person's name is when you go to a location, and you can't possibly, you've never done research on it, but yet you know what that person even looks like. It's bits and pieces, but you don't know where it's coming from. It's kind of like that gut instinct you have. Don't take that path to work. If you do, go a different way. You go a different way, you find out there's a bad accident. It's that little something's telling you. Then you get to mediumship. Mediumship means you understand where the information is coming from. Your spirit guides you're in tune with. You understand where you're getting it from, and you can start making sense out of it. Doesn't mean you're going to know everything. A lot of things on that side, when it comes to you, is symbolism also. Everything's not the same as what you think. They don't come out and tell you, okay, you're going to have a baby boy, it's going to be blah, blah. They don't give you all that information. Sorry. Doesn't typically work that way. Typically. Once you get to that point of being from mediumship to know, you'll hear what people will talk about your future. Even mediums can know bits and pieces about your future, absolutely, and be dead on. Then you get into psychics. Psychics understand, they know your future, they know your past. Mediums know your past, psychics know your past, and they know your future. That's really the debatable part. Some people have put the psychic before the medium. However you want to do it, I don't care. Just a kind of a slide ruler we go across, and that's what I'm looking at when I'm dealing with people. Sorry, it's a long explanation, but I want you guys to have a clue about it. Can you go up on go up one? I'm just trying to catch up comments. I know I'm not trying to have you talk. Well, we have no special gifts or medium. Gifts or mediums, just sensitive. Sis and I. Oh, the spooky sisters. Okay. Releasing a lady. Let's see. Work really hard to release a lady on an event who was not so much attached to, but had a strong channeling happen to her. We literally felt a very strong. Okay, even in that sense, if you want to break something off where somebody's having that crazy draw, if you think of, we know we have a conscious and a subconscious, and the easiest way for me to explain it is your subconscious is always spinning around, always protecting, always protecting. Well, all of a sudden it gets jammed up, and something comes through, and that's where they're coming through at. If I suddenly hit something or I hit you with water, that shock, especially in the dark in a small room, that shock will snap you the hell out of it, and your subconscious continues going. It doesn't jam back up. You're fine for now. You'll be fine for now. It's kind of recognizing if you walk across a battlefield, there's several of you, you walk across a battlefield and you're in a group and everybody's feeling perfectly fine. Before we start an investigation, I always say, hey, Freddie, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I want to know how everybody's feeling, because when that changes, that's what I need to know. You walk across a battlefield and somebody's like, oh my gosh, that hurt, and they were perfectly fine. That's empathic. They're just feeling some emotion. They're not being attacked typically. Most of the attacks that people say they have, oh, they were attacked, most of the attacks are feeling the pain, the headaches, or anything. They're not attacks. You're experiencing what somebody else has experienced. That's empathic. There's definitely also intuitive. As far as you can also have premonitions, the intuitive, no question. There's, when you have that, that's, again, when you start out and you're a sensitive, you can have the intuitive motions as far as you can know things ahead of time, but again, you still don't understand them. Once you learn to understand them, that's when you can get to the next stage. And there's so many different titles to everything, and I see some of these people that want to have like 9 different titles. Man, if that floats your boat, carry 9 titles. I don't care. It's just a mouthful to say to a lot of people.
Can I have 10 titles?
If you want 10 titles, okay. Freddie, you have 10 titles. Dr. Toothache could be one, right?
Right. You got about a minute. So.
All right. The shock will knock that tooth out. I have dreams that later come true. Nothing dramatic, just like seeing the landscape of a house that I've seen in my dreams. Again, having the intuition as far as being able to premonitions. When you have premonitions, it's something you can. Premonitions come in dreams a lot. That's not uncommon. And then yet you can go there and see what they are. I was talking about Sean McGaha I mentioned earlier. And I've asked him to go on one location with me one time, and I had no idea. Before we went there, when we pulled up to the driveway, and it wasn't a driveway, it was on the street side, we had pulled up next to the curb, and it had this little slope of the ground itself, and then it goes up to another. He actually had that all in a drawing, including the trees on the side of the house, the number of. But he pulls out a piece of paper and starts opening it up, and we're looking at it. I was teasing him that one tree was a little out of size compared to what it should have been. I would have never thought that was possible that somebody, he had no idea where we're going. I don't give directions. When somebody's riding with me, I don't tell them where we're going. I'm just asking him to go to a location with me. So when he pulls out a piece of paper and it matches exactly the house that we're at, again, he's got a premonition. He knows what the place is going to look like. It's a premonition. That's pretty darn awesome. Absolutely, some abilities, Christy, to your point, yes, they can absolutely overlap. I know we're done out of time on this one. We are all energy. I feel spirit around me and see things in my mind's eye, but I'm not an empath. Great live feed. Colette, thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. All you guys, we appreciate. At 2 o'clock, we're going to be back on. We're going to talk a little bit more about attachments, and then we're going to go on. We'll figure out what Freddie's topic is going to be next on the next show. He's running it, so. Thank you so much for everybody who hung out with us. Thank you so much for everybody who has shared this. We sincerely appreciate it. Freddie, thank you for hanging in there.
Trying.
I know you're suffering hard. White Light, hope you feel better.
Oh, I hope.
Everything for you today, brother.
So one more break, and we'll have you get yank us out.
Hey,
all right?
I got pliers. They're upstairs.
Thanks, guys.
You have controls today.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're out of here. Love and light to everybody. Thank you.